that is currently where my improvisation is at. Here once again to talk about the guitar, and I am very discouraged. So long story short, I tried to actually budget my time for my practice and keep track of the activities that I was pursuing. So I have this little app. Oh, it's called Soundbrenner. I've got the free one. I don't have the watch or anything. But Soundbrenner is like a metronome slash practice app that allows you to keep track of your practice. Not sponsored. I haven't even bought the app. I'm on the free version, so whatever. But Soundbrenner is really cool because it's got a built-in metronome. It's got this little calendar that shows how long you've spent on things. And I mean, I am thinking of getting the paid version. But today's goal was an hour's worth of practice back to back, which first of all is not a good idea for someone like me who I can't even sit still for 5 minutes. It's I really have a hard time focusing. Now, I haven't been diagnosed by a medical professional with any sort of hyperactivity disorder or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what I have because I am very, despite my calm demeanor online, in actual life with people, you can ask my girlfriend, I'm very, very sporadic and like, I'm all over the place. And I felt like crying today, I'm not gonna lie. Because I got to 30 minutes, thank God. Thank God I got to 30 minutes. But it was a slog, dude. Like, I think the first 5 minutes was just a warm up. Already there, I struggled because it was just this, and I couldn't do that for 5 minutes without drifting off. And I think that should have been a sign already, but it's fine. So I carried on and I got to scales, and it was supposed to be 10 minutes of doing scales in all modes in the circle of fourths. So starting with E Phrygian, going into F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, all the way up till E Phrygian again. And then I go all the way back down. So I go, yeah, and then I end up in Dorian, then I end up in Ionian, then Locrian, then Aeolian, Mixolydian, Lydian. And then when I hit the open note that I started on Phrygian, so then I moved to E Locrian instead, which would become the seventh of the key of fourth above. So you see, already theoretically, I know what I'm doing. But practically, I just could not do it. So I don't know why I really struggle to pay attention. And I think this is something that has been evident since my youth, since I was a youngster. I mean, I'd be in school, I'd get decent grades. I wasn't like a overachiever or anything. I think my relationship with failure is very, very broken. And again, this is not the place to be getting personal. The internet's not the place to be getting personal. But I do feel like that's part of the appeal of my videos is that I'm just really honest about where I'm at and how I feel. So ever since I was a kid, I I've been told by teachers like, oh, you have so much potential. You've got such a big brain. You're so intelligent. You just can't concentrate. You don't concentrate. Not even can't. You don't want to concentrate. You don't want to. I was always told by teachers that I don't want to focus, and that became very difficult for me to accept because I was genuinely trying. Um, and so growing up, I had a lot of coping mechanisms to like soothe that part of my brain, and then it turned into habits like smoking and all of that. That I'm now, as a 28-year-old man who's trying to rebuild life, realizing that there was a lot of stuff that was like that I allowed to get in the way. And that's okay. I can't cry over spilt milk, but it just hit me like a weighted ton of bricks today that, yeah, I have a lot of work to do. I've got goals for my musical trajectory and I want to formalize my studies. I actually want to go get a music degree. And I'm self-taught. I've not had a teacher or a mentor in music ever in my life. I mean, I've had friends that shared things with me, but I've never paid someone to guide me. And so sometimes I feel like it's too late. Sometimes I feel like You're 28 years old, you're never gonna get there. Why even try and get a music degree? What do you want the music degree for? Like, you're too old, you know. But then what brings me back to earth is the fact that there are 40-year-olds pursuing music because they gave up their dream when they were my age. And I don't want to be that. I'd rather be 28 and struggling than like 48 and being like, oh man, I could have just done it. So I stay here and I want to achieve it. And if the Lord sees it fit, if God allows, He will entrust me with that. This video is just about like where I'm at right now. I'm really thinking of a lot of things. I want to record all my practice sessions from when they start to where they end and compile a little folder of events, and I don't know, just to be able to look back at it one day, because I know that one day I will be in a different place and I'll appreciate the fact that I pursued what I'm pursuing. One thing that makes this instrument or anything really difficult to learn is that the pursuit isn't really about the thing itself as much as it's about the person pursuing the thing. And what do I mean by that? I just mean that, like, for me, the improvisation thing, the whole jazz music thing, I know some chords. Like, I mean, I can play you a major 7 and minor 7. I can play you major 7 sharp 11. I know these sounds. I mean, like a major 13. It sounds cool. I know them. And when I say I know them, I'm familiar with what they sound like. But I don't have ownership over the sounds. Like, I know that over major 7 sharp 11 you use Lydian. But I can't currently. Currently, I'm not able to improvise any convincing lines, or it doesn't feel like I'm able to. Now, granted, I've met people in my waking life that tell me, "Oh, you're so good at this instrument, you're so good at guitar," but like, I have a goal in mind, and I'm so far from it. And today was very difficult because I had to accept that. I had to accept that I'm far from where I want to be, and not on some consolation thing, like really genuinely accepting that I am far, and the amount of work that I'm gonna have to do to get back, to get even close to where I want to be, is gonna be immense. And just asking myself if that's really something I want to do. And I think the answer is yes. The answer is yes, I really do want to do it. But today was a knock. It was a really, really, really heavy knock on my self-esteem. And I don't know why I'm sharing this on the internet. Again, this is not the place to be getting personal, but I might look back at this 5 years from now and be like, oh, dude, come on, you made a mountain out of a molehill, you know? But attention, man. The attention span is rotting, and I feel like there is no choice but to fight for your attention span. In the world that we live in today, with everything that just happens all the time, bombarded with information and having access to anything you want to know at your fingertips, it's kind of a bittersweet thing, because you can know anything, nothing is really worth knowing anymore. You know, because you can use AI to write a song, why learn guitar? You know, if because you can use a search engine to research a topic, why go to a library and read a bunch of encyclopedias, you know? Or at the very least, read encyclopedias on the internet itself, you know? Why don't you just get a bot to read it to you? And again, I don't want this to turn into some conspiratorial thing. I am quite a believer in a lot of conspiracy theories, but I think that's just a consequence of my upbringing. But I'm just here to encourage whoever's watching this thing that you should just do the thing you want to do, and don't take shortcuts. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to worthwhile things. Things that are worthwhile don't have shortcuts. Even if you develop shortcuts later on, you could only get there from, you make a shortcut when you're driving a car. You can only ever go to a shortcut if you've been to the destination a few times. If I've gone from this place to that place enough times, then I think I'm in a better position to come up with an alternate route that will take me there quicker or in a different way. But I can't formulate a shortcut for a place I've never been. It's impossible. It's really impossible. And I think that's kind of the trap. That there's always a quicker way, there's always a faster way, and we need to learn that way first. learn the old school way of just slogging through something. Like, there were people in points of history who were building structures that they knew they wouldn't even see the development of. Like, they wouldn't see it come to fruition. Imagine being in like ancient Greece, right? I mean, if I was in ancient Greece, I'd probably be a slave or something. But imagine being in ancient Greece and understanding that, okay, I'm building this like amphitheater coliseum thing, and it's taking marble bricks that weigh tons, and I can only ever carry about one or two of them, and I'm not gonna see this thing complete. I won't see the end of this project, but it's worth doing. It's worth it because I'll leave this behind. I feel like, to a degree, the common man, this guy over here, and everyone else who perceives themselves to be just a common man or woman or whatever, we've lost the value of a pursuit that is higher than our access to it. You know, like, we've imagine dying for something that you know you won't see. That's basically the thing that we are faced with whenever we try to learn a new skill. You know, you could go to a platform online and learn how to draw, and this AI thing will teach you form and perspective and anatomy and, like, you know, the vanishing point and all of that stuff. But that's just not your path. That's a path that's been set by whoever that thinks that this is the way to go. But I think the best way to go about things is to find your path, to find what you're weak at, and to work on it every day without anyone caring. No one's gonna care. No one should care. No one should care about what you're doing except you. I put on my Instagram the other day. I'm not even on Instagram anymore. I'm thinking of even just getting off of YouTube because, like, all of this stuff is just stealing my time. But one of the last things I posted on my Instagram story, I said, when you're pursuing something, when you're pursuing a thing that you cannot do yet. So for me, pursuing the ability to improvise over chord changes. I don't have that ability currently. Well, maybe I do. I just don't have access to it. Whatever. We can go down the semantic rabbit hole. But that desire that I have to improvise over chord changes is just a desire until I start putting things into place to attain the thing. That's a plan. That's a goal, right? But the goal, or the planning for the goal, reveals more about my relationship with myself than my relationship with the goal. So if I want to get better at guitar, it has very little to do with guitar and more about my perception of myself. Because, I mean, anyone can look at me and be like, but you play so well. And my perception is that I don't. So no amount of external validation will make me feel like I've arrived or I'm getting close to the goal that I want, you know? And the true test then actually is your relationship with yourself. When you get frustrated when you're learning a new thing, what's actually happening is you're getting frustrated about your ability to retain information or your ability to learn. And so for me, that reflects to my childhood and all the teachers that told me, you're so clever, but you're this and you're that, or you're so intelligent, if only you could focus. And so all of that stuff surfaces, and then I'm like, they were right, I can't focus. And the true battle now becomes taking ownership of that fact and changing it so that it becomes, my new reality becomes that I'm able to focus. And no one can do that for me except me and, well, the help of God. If you believe in God, I do. I'll talk about that one day, about my beliefs. Not that it matters. No one, you see, no one cares. Even me making this video, no one's gonna watch it. This is for me, so that 5 years down the line, when I'm actually 10 years down the line, when I'm actually improvising over chord changes the way that I desire, I can look at this guy from 10 years ago and realize that, man, we've come a long way. That's the whole point of any pursuit. And unfortunately, the pursuit now has become just a mechanism for clout. Like, I want to be seen doing this thing so that I can be seen. Not even for the thing. And granted, I'm not saying everyone who's online is doing this. I'm speaking for myself here, that I fell into the trap of just existing online instead of existing in real life. And then my real life became very shallow, very empty. It became a shadow of what it could have been. A lot of things I'm realizing, like my need for validation from other people, or like all of that stuff is coming up, and I have to fight for my perception of myself, and not making one up for the sake of soothing, but really, really, really working on who I am, so that 10 years down the line I can look back at a video like this and be like, at least we grew. I think the saddest thing would be I upload this video on YouTube today and I just carry on living my life the way I've been living it, and then I look up and I'm 38 years old and I'm in the same place, and then this guy who's on the screen right now is telling that guy 10 years later, hey man, where are you? And the guy 10 years later is like, oh my gosh, I'm still here. That was a big nothing burger, but yeah, I'm on the road of improving my improv. Improve my improv. That sounds cool. That sounds like a series name or something. You see, a series name, as if this is even for anyone other than myself. No one cares. But I'm gonna learn how to improvise over chord changes if that's the last thing that I do. And I pray that God entrusts me with that responsibility, because I would really, really, really like to express myself without having to use words. I'm a very expressive person by nature. I like talking and sharing information, and I would love to have a new language to share how I feel without having to rely on my tongue moving and using vocabulary that has been set over time in a language like English. I'd like to come up with new vocabulary for myself on this instrument, because there's so many things that are unexplored on this instrument. I look at someone like Alan Holdsworth, who has his own method of like going through things, and I can hear in his playing that he really was like, I don't want to say deeply troubled because I don't know the guy, but I could feel in his music, I can feel that there's a deep longing, a yearning in his music. Or even Pat Martino, one of my favorite improvisers, someone who learned to play twice in one lifetime, which I think is just a gift from God, because I'm struggling to do it once in my lifetime. So to get to do it twice after losing your memory is quite something. And whenever I listen to his improvisations, like his solo on Footprints, or like on Impressions or whatever, like on Impressions I hear something else, but on Footprints I really hear like pain. Or like Days of Wine and Roses, I hear pain. I hear pain when I hear him play. And I don't know if that's really what was happening, but I hear it. And that's the thing. I get to interpret his notes in light of my own experience. And I want to be able to interpret my notes in terms of my own experience and share that with the world and see what comes out of that. Like, my goal with music is to get to a point where nothing I play is the same thing that I've played, which is very, very difficult. I mean, to be able to attach meaning to something that changes all the time, you need quite a command of a lot of things to be able to do that convincingly. I mean, to a lot of people, jazz is nothing but going. And I guess that is jazz, but it's not. It's not jazz, because jazz is a sophisticated language. It's like saying English is just taking any amount of letters from the 26 letter alphabet, combining them and speaking it. I mean, not really. There's a method to it. Even the most free music has limits. They have looser limits, but they have limits. Humans thrive under limits, because we then get an understanding for what we're capable of. Even though we are limitless beings, we live in this, as humans, we live in this weird space where we're limited by our ability, but we are limitless by our inner man, the spirit, the thing that goes on inside is limitless. You can imagine anything inside, but there's only certain things that you can see outside. And a healthy relationship with the inner side and the outer side, when they coincide, they make for beautiful experience. And that's my pursuit. And I realize that it's going to take a lot of work. So yeah, this is journal entry. It's my first practice journal entry on a video. I need to go write some of what I've experienced down and maybe try again later. Maybe try and practice. I'm fortunate enough to have a bit more time on my hands, but I know there'll come a time where I don't have this much time on my hands, so I better get to work. If you made it all the way through to this video, if you're even watching it at all, I hope you got something out of it, because yeah, a lot of it's gonna be this, just some guy talking. Have a blessed day. Take care.